Let's begin our podcast.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're plunging into something maybe a bit surprising in our, super noisy world, the power of silence.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Silence gets, drowned out by all the noise it's supposed to save us from.
Exactly. But we're going to explore just how significant it really is.
Right. Its impact is pretty far-reaching.
So just think about your own day for a sec. How much is just constant sound? Notifications, traffic, maybe music or podcasts?
It adds up fast.
Right. It's a lot. So if you've ever felt, overwhelmed by all that, this deep dive is definitely for you. We want to help you understand why finding more silence isn't just about, finding peace and quiet.
No, it's more than that. It can genuinely lead to some pretty remarkable benefits.
Yeah. So our mission here is to unpack that for you. We'll look at mental health, creativity, even how we talk to each other.
Spirituality, physical health, too. We got some interesting research and articles to draw on.
Okay, so let's get into it. First up, mental health. Seems like a good place to start, given the stress connection.
Absolutely. I mean, the sheer amount of sound we deal with every day, it's a lot for the brain. Traffic, phones pinging constantly. It definitely creates this sort of low-level, constant stress. Cognitive overload, they call it.
Your brain's just working overtime trying to process everything.
Exactly. And that relentless flow, it takes a toll on you.
And there's actual science behind this, right? I think I saw in one of the articles, was it the New York Post, that silence has real, physical effects.
That's right. It's not just in your head. Studies show that quiet time can actually lower your blood pressure.
Really?
Yeah, and reduce cortisol levels. That's the main stress hormone.
Yeah.
And too much of that long-term isn't great for your body.
Wow. So just less noise can directly calm your body's stress response.
It's pretty amazing when you think about it that way.
It's like hitting a reset button for your whole nervous system. And it makes sense, right? If your brain isn't constantly filtering sound, it can use that energy for other things, concentrating better, thinking clearly.
Precisely. When that constant barrage stops, your brain finally gets a chance to process thoughts properly. Consolidate memories.
So you get more mental clarity.
Exactly. Those quiet moments aren't empty. They're actually super productive for your brain.
Okay, that flows really well into our next point then. Creativity. Because, you often hear about noisy brainstorming sessions.
Right, the collaborative buzz.
Yeah, but maybe silence is just as important, or even more so. This part really caught my attention.
It's fascinating, isn't it? Think about where those little sparks of insight, those aha moments, often come from.
Usually when you're alone, right? Maybe in the shower or something.
Exactly. It's often in solitude, when your mind isn't being pulled in a million directions by outside stuff. Silence gives you that space for, introspection.
Letting ideas just kind of bubble up.
Yeah, letting them connect in unexpected ways. When your mind isn't busy processing noise, it can do more of that associative thinking, linking different ideas together.
That makes sense. That's kind of the core of creative thinking, isn't it?
It really is.
And this isn't a new idea either, is it? Our sources mention people like Isaac Newton, Albert Einstein.
Giants of science, yeah. Apparently, they really valued their quiet time, needed it for their work.
Makes you wonder, right? How many breakthroughs happen in silence versus a busy lab or office?
It's a compelling thought. Cutting down on external noise lets you access, deeper levels of thought.
Get past the surface stuff.
Right. Really dig into a problem or an idea. That quiet space lets the mind wander productively, fosters those innovative leaps.
Okay, so shifting gears a little bit. This might surprise some people. Silence and communication.
Ah, yes. Because we usually think communication is all words, right?
Totally. But apparently silence plays a big role, too. It speaks its own language, sort of.
Absolutely. It's not just dead air. It's an active part of how we communicate. Colm Kenny's book, The Power of Silence, really digs into this.
Okay.
He argues it's not passive, it's meaningful. Those pauses, the quiet moments in a conversation, they can carry a lot of weight.
But how? I mean, sometimes silence just feels awkward, doesn't it?
Yeah, it can, if we're not used to it or if we misinterpret it. But think about it strategically. A pause can show empathy, giving someone space.
Okay, like letting them gather their thoughts.
Exactly. Or process emotions.
Yeah.
It lets both people reflect, stops you from just blurting things out, prevents misunderstanding sometimes. And sometimes silence says more than words ever could. Like, think about a really heavy moment, maybe shared grief, or just a moment of deep understanding between two people.
Yeah, sometimes you don't need words.
Precisely. The silence itself communicates the weight, the connection.
That's actually a really powerful way to think about it. Reframing silence from empty space to potentially meaningful space. Okay, so let's move on to the spiritual side. Silence seems absolutely central to so many different faiths and traditions.
It really is. Across the board, you see silence valued as a way to connect. Connect with something deeper, find inner peace, gain understanding.
Right, and that book by Robert Cardinal Sarah, The Power of Silence, it really hammers this home, doesn't it?
It does. He talks about the dictatorship of noise in the modern world.
Wow. Strong words.
Yeah, and he presents silence as this crucial opportunity to counter that, to find that inner peace, maybe even encounter the divine, depending on your perspective.
So the constant noise is like a barrier.
That's his view, yeah. A barrier to that deeper connection. Silence clears the way for introspection, for listening to that, inner voice.
Like in meditation or contemplative prayer.
Exactly. Those practices fundamentally rely on silence. It's the key ingredient for that kind of spiritual growth and self-awareness.
It's like stripping away all the external stuff lets you tune into something internal, more profound. Now, okay, beyond the mental and spiritual, silence actually impacts our physical well-being too, tangibly.
That's right. We touched on stress, but it goes further. We often dismiss noise pollution as just annoying, right? Like, oh, the traffic's loud again.
Yeah, just background irritation.
But research links chronic noise exposure to actual health problems. Things like cardiovascular issues.
Heart problems from noise.
Yeah, and sleep disturbances, which have their own knock-on effects.
That makes sense, I guess, if constant noise keeps your body kind of on alert all the time.
Exactly. That fight or flight response stays activated. So the flip side is true too.
Meaning quiet helps the body relax and recover.
Precisely. Reducing that constant stimulation lets your body downregulate the stress response. It can potentially lower the risk of those stress-related illnesses.
Okay.
And here's something really fascinating from Psych Central. One study suggested silence can actually lead to the growth of new cells in the hippocampus.
Get out! The hippocampus, that's the memory and learning part of the brain, isn't it?
That's the one. So these quiet periods might literally be helping to build a stronger, more resilient brain. It's not just about feeling better.
Wow! New brain cells from silence. That's incredible.
It really is.
Okay, this all sounds great. Amazing even. But let's be practical. For someone listening who feels like they're just surrounded by noise constantly, how do you even start?
Yeah, it can feel daunting, like you need to move to a monastery or something.
Right.
But it doesn't have to be extreme. You can take small, manageable steps.
Like what?
Well, mindful meditation is a really direct way. Even just 5 minutes a day focusing on your breath in a quiet spot. That counts. That makes a difference.
Just 5 minutes. Okay. What about the phone? The constant buzzing?
The digital noise. Yeah, that's huge. So trying out digital detox periods.
Like turning it off completely?
Maybe. Or just intentionally leaving it in another room for an hour. Turning off non-essential notifications. Creating deliberate pockets of phone-free time.
That alone sounds freeing, actually.
It really can be. Another great one is just spending time in nature. Getting away from urban noise.
The sounds of nature are different, aren't they? Calmer.
Often, yeah. They don't usually trigger that same stress response. And then, for a deeper dive, there are things like silent retreats.
A more immersive option.
Exactly. For real, deep introspection and renewal.
These are all good practical ideas, but I can also see how, for some people, silence itself might feel uncomfortable, maybe even a bit scary.
Absolutely. That definitely came up in the sources too. Silence can bring up feelings of loneliness for some people, or just restlessness, like you should be doing something.
Yeah, that's societal pressure. Busyness equals productivity, right? If you're just sitting quietly, you're not achieving anything.
That's a really ingrained idea, isn't it? And it makes me think too about the type of noise. The research suggests that unpredictable, uncontrollable noise is the worst for us.
Okay, like sudden sirens versus, say, background music you choose to put on.
Exactly. But still, facing that complete quiet can be tough if you're used to constant input.
So how do we shift that perspective? How do we start seeing silence not as empty, but as valuable?
I think it's about consciously reframing it.
Yes.
Seeing it as a proactive choice you're making for your well-being.
Like self-care.
Sort of, yeah. Like mental and emotional nourishment, not just a lack of sound. Understanding that quiet time is actually really productive in its own way.
For processing, like you said. For creativity.
For just being,
Yeah.
which is something we don't often allow ourselves. It ties back to intention, too. Choosing silence rather than just having it happen.
Making it a conscious act.
Exactly.
Wow, this has been really illuminating. It's so clear that silence is way more than just, the absence of noise.
Definitely. It's this powerful, multifaceted resource.
Yeah, impacting our minds, our creativity, how we connect, our spiritual side, even our physical health.
It touches almost every aspect of our lives, yet we so often overlook it or even actively avoid it.
Everyone listening with a thought. Just consider one small way, one tiny way you could intentionally bring a little pocket of silence into your day.
Doesn't have to be huge.
Not at all. Maybe it's just sitting in your car for 2 minutes in silence before you go inside, or skipping the headphones on your walk one day.
Mm-hmm.
Just try it. And then just notice. Pay attention to what shifts for you in that quiet. What might you discover or hear within yourself that all the usual noise has been covering up?
A powerful question to sit with.
Indeed. Until next time, thanks for diving deep with us.